So let's talk about a woman who basically took the Enlightenment's best ideas and turned them right back on the very men who wrote them. Her name was Mary Wollstonecraft. You see, in an age that was all about the rights of man, she had the guts to ask a really dangerous question. What about the other half of us? Her ideas weren't just about tweaking the system. No, she wanted to tear it down and build something new, all on the radical idea of reason and equality.
All right, so here's how we're going to break down her revolutionary thinking. First, we'll dive into the rebellious times she lived in. Then we'll pick apart her brilliant takedown of what society called virtue. After that, we'll get to the heart of her argument, her appeal to reason. Then we'll look at her incredible plan for education. And finally, we'll see why she's still so incredibly important today.
You really can't get Wollstonecraft without getting her era. I mean, she was writing right in the middle of the fire and chaos of the French Revolution. This was a time when all the old, stuffy ideas about power, about who gets rights and who doesn't, were literally being torn apart in the streets and in pamphlets.
And this timeline, well, it shows you she was right in the thick of it. When this really influential conservative guy, Edmund Burke, attacked the French Revolution, did she sit back? Nope. She immediately fired back with a vindication of the rights of men. But honestly, she was just warming up. Just 2 years later, she drops her masterpiece, taking that same revolutionary logic and applying it to the one group everyone else seemed to have forgotten about.
And you have to understand, this wasn't just some academic exercise for her. Wollstonecraft's life was tough. She had a tyrannical father, and she really struggled to make her own money in a world that offered women very few options. All that first-hand experience with just how unfair the world was, well, that's the fuel you can feel burning in every single page she wrote.
So, what was the big problem she was trying to solve? It all came down to this staggering hypocrisy right at the heart of the Enlightenment. There was a completely different set of rules for men and women, and both were sneakily packaged under this one word, virtue. I mean, just look at this comparison. It's wild. For men, virtue meant all these incredible things. Reason, freedom, your duty as a citizen, the stuff you build a new world on. But for women, their virtues were basically a user's manual for manipulation. Be cunning, pretend to be weak, be obedient but in a sneaky way, and, oh yeah, really, really like clothes. These weren't character traits. They were instructions on how to be a pretty object, not a whole person.
And this was Wollstonecraft's simple, perfect, devastating response to all of it, especially to famous thinkers like Rousseau. See, Rousseau was this big champion of freedom, but only for men. He actually argued that women should only be educated enough to please men, to use their charms to get by. Wollstonecraft saw right through that. To her, this wasn't some different kind of virtue. She saw it for what it was, an intellectual prison. It was, quite simply, nonsense.
Okay, so if the whole idea of female virtue was nonsense, what was her solution? For Wollstonecraft, the answer was so clear, so powerful, it was reason. She argued that humanity could never truly progress as long as half of it was being denied the basic capacity to think.
Now, in the Enlightenment, reason was everything. It was like the divine spark, the thing that made humans different from animals. It was all about logic and making moral choices. Wollstonecraft's most radical, most brilliant move was to just state the obvious. That gift isn't just for men, it's universal. And that one point, that was an absolute bombshell. Because if women have reason, then denying them the same rights as men isn't just unfair, it's completely illogical.
This right here is the logical knockout punch of her argument. She took the Enlightenment's own favorite weapon, logic, and turned it on their prejudices. She basically said, look, if you believe men deserve rights because they can reason, then by that exact same logic, a parity of reasoning, you have no choice but to accept the rights of women too.
And here it is, her call to arms. This isn't her begging for scraps. It's not a plea for pity. It is a demand for justice. She's framing women's rights not as some special favor, but as a basic requirement for any world that calls itself rational and just. This is the absolute core of her vindication.
But Wollstonecraft wasn't just a philosopher. She was practical. She knew just saying women had rights wasn't enough. I mean, to create citizens who can actually use those rights, you first have to free their minds. And for her, that meant one thing: a total revolution in education. She looked at the education system for girls in her day and she saw it for exactly what it was, a tool of oppression.
It wasn't designed to open their minds, it was designed to, in her words, enslave them, by narrowing their focus, making them obsessed with feelings and appearances, and completely robbing them of the power to think critically about their own life and the world.
So what was her solution? It was unbelievably ahead of its time. She called for a national education system that was free for everybody. And get this, boys and girls would be educated together. They wouldn't just be memorizing facts, they'd be having Socratic conversations, learning how to think for themselves. The goal wasn't just to make them smart, but to create real friendship and real respect between the sexes.
So, the big question, why are we still talking about a writer from the 1790s? Well, it's because the fights that Mary Wollstonecraft was fighting, for reason, for justice, for real education, are in so many ways the same fights we're still fighting today.
She taught us that real equality isn't about just making a few small changes here and there. No, it requires rethinking and rebuilding society itself. She understood that you can't have genuine morality if it's based on keeping people ignorant. And her most powerful idea, that liberty is the mother of virtue, is this timeless reminder that people can only truly become their best, most moral selves when they are free.
And that leaves us with one last big thought to chew on. If freedom is the essential ingredient for people to be good, to be virtuous, what does that mean for how we build our societies, our schools, and even how we live our own lives right now? It's a question Wollstonecraft threw down over 200 years ago, and it's one we're all still trying